My name is Rick Thigpen. And I work for public service, and it's really a privilege to have everybody here today. And I can't think of a better thing for the Civic Trust to be doing than to come to a place called public service. So when Harry and I talked about this, it's exactly what I told him. Harry also observed, my new job is corporate citizenship, and I can't think, well, is anybody watching the news these days? And I can't think of a more important topic than citizenship and civic duty. And Harry talks about this thing, which I used to call him a do-gooder behind his back, this no-blame talk about politics. Could you imagine if we watched CNN and we were listening to people talk about no-blame politics and solving problems today? I can't. That's why I said that, everybody. Right. So anyway, it's really a privilege to be here with you all, and I really do welcome everybody to public service. We're really proud of our role in this community, and we take our name very seriously. And I have a very brief job here, but I can't resist. Harry is the one who made me read this Athenian oath. Raise your hand if you've read the Athenian oath now. It's a product of Harry's fancy college degree is what I really think this is. But when you read the Athenian oath, I have to give it to him again. It really is something that would be outstanding for us all to live up to. And I just want to read one sentence. We will transmit this city not only less, but greater, better, and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. And imagine if we all lived up to that standard. It's really hard to imagine, isn't it? So it's really a beautiful thing. So I love to make fun of Harry when he's not looking. You see, it's much better to have Carolyn here. And I think I'm not as good as his brother at making fun of him, but I want to give it a go. But it really is a very important day today, and I know I have a job to introduce Harry. I'm going to do it in just 1 second, but I'm so proud to work for a company called Public Service. I'm so proud to have people, the 13,000 people I work with, try to live up to that standard. And I am very proud of what Harry is trying to do, to try to have us all live up to that standard and have us all pay attention to our civic responsibilities. And if we can leave Newark and the state of New Jersey better than we found it, all of us can be proud of ourselves. And I bet we all have one thing in common who are old enough, and that is we all love our children, right? Yes. Anybody want to leave this city or state worse for their children than they found it? So having said that, I begrudgingly admire Harry for all he's doing. And I do want to show a video as a sign of the importance of the Civic Trust and what he's got going in the great city of Newark. And on that note, I'll ask the video to be played. And while you're waiting,
X out the yellow bar. The yellow bar that says read only. Get rid of it. Press the X.
Got a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
He's struggling over it.
Yeah, we need somebody younger.
You could skip it.
Yeah, maybe we got it. Okay, well, it is a great video, and we'd love to see it. There's going to be a great panel that's going to talk about Newark, and let's give it just a second longer, Harry, and if not, we will keep moving. It's going to take a long time to introduce Harry for all he's accomplished, so I thought we'd do the video first.
No, you're good.
Success?
No, we're having some technical.
Okay, all right, so unfortunately we're not going to be able to see the video. The video really tells a great story about where we're here for today. But having said that, it was my job to introduce the founder of the Citizens Campaign, and I was doing a little homework on Harry, and Harry's almost invisible online, you guys, and I'm very suspicious about this. Anyway, having said that, the Citizens Campaign was founded in 1997 by Harry and his much better half, Carolyn Pazicki. And he had help from, Carolyn. And if you look close, you can see wings on Carolyn. All right, here we go. It looks just like Harry to me.
Hard to imagine Harry speechless.
Harry Pizicki of Perth Amboy was once a politician.
We're here today to recognize and to celebrate Newark as the first civic city in the nation.
Harry Pizicki of Perth Amboy was once a politician. In 1998, he founded a good government group, the Citizens Campaign. Newark Mayor Raz Baraka has been interested in civic engagement. The two came together today to declare Newark the first so-called civic city in America.
A civic city is a city where all citizens have access to the skills and information that they need to experience the full measure of their political power.
The model has four components: civics in the schools, civics in the universities, and online for all residents, associations of interested residents called civic trusts, and an embrace by City Hall of the concept of empowerment.
We begin to create a pipeline from a high school to the university to get people to understand civically how they should be engaged, what are the processes that exist. Like there are other things besides the mayor. There's the council, there's the freeholders, there's state assembly. There are all kind of folks involved in their ways, and there's all kind of nonprofit organizations that they can be engaged in as well.
The idea is to stoke citizen participation. The mayor said he wants to get people beyond pointing out problems and into solving them. The new school superintendent was on board.
Imagine this: every child in every school in Newark learning civics.
The city already has a civic trust. Its members are enthusiastic.
Our task, our responsibility, our accountability is to make sure that we teach our youth how to be civically engaged, how to understand democracy and government.
Rutgers Newark is on board as well.
At the heart of civic cities is the recognition that we are intrinsic and moral neighbors who must continually and steadily be learning how to move from difficult dialogues to community mobilizing to experiencing real victories and then to empowerment.
It's this kind of thing, this kind of broad-based engagement of the community in learning their full political power and how to be no-blame problem solvers that sets the foundation for a civic city.
So while today is about Newark and about civic duty, let's take just a brief moment to recognize the young man who brought us all together today, and I think it's appropriate. The Citizens Campaign, first off, was founded by Harry and Carolyn in 1997 with help from our former United States Senator Bill Bradley, our former Governor Tom Kean, and former Harvard University President Derek Bach. Among other things, Harry was instrumental in passing pay-to-play legislation and Open Public Records Act legislation. Mr. Good Government over here, everybody. So Harry is, as Michael Aaron just referred to, has had a little experience in politics. I think it helped him enormously in this particular challenge, being a Middlesex County freeholder and the chairman of the Middlesex County Democratic Committee. And I'm guessing Harry learned a lesson or two from that experience. Harry is a graduate of Brown University and Fordham Law School, and he was a land use lawyer, but I want to genuinely tip my hat to Harry about something I just learned, and that he chaired the committee that passed the New Jersey Fair Housing Law. And for that, Harry, we all owe you a debt of gratitude. Having said that, it's my honor to bring up the young man who brought us all together today, who's helping improve our community and making Newark a civic community, one of many more. It is my privilege to bring up here young Harry Pizicki.
Thank you, Rick. You're supposed to make jokes about me do the whole autobiography, but I thank you so much. You're a good friend. You know, Rick and PSE&G were behind this from the very beginning. And
Public service, Harry.
Public service, excuse me. And it's very fitting that we're here for that reason. You know, and I want to, just before we begin, also recognize and show appreciation for the Newark Alliance. We have Dennis Bone here and Aisha Glover, and to partner with us in hosting this has made it very special. We need everybody to put the oar in the water to promote Newark the Civic City. And I want to thank all of you, because I know how busy you are and all, and to come for another talk is just another talk sometimes. but this is important to Newark, and it's important to the nation. What we're here to do today is to recognize and celebrate the fact that Newark is the first civic city in the nation, and that it will be a model for civic cities as they grow across the country. We have a 3-year marketing plan and organizing plan to grow these civic cities. They're already almost complete in Trenton and Plainfield and Perth Amboy. One's growing in Philadelphia now. Yonkers and Miami and Oakland and Toledo are slated for next year. So the ability to point to Newark as the place where this all began is very, very significant. And it's significant because, notwithstanding all the nice words that Rick said about me, it's Newarkers who made Newark the civic city possible. We supplied tools and some expert support. But these civic trustees that you see sitting at this table here been toiling and working for years to make this happen. And the people that you see at the panel here are people who were already making this happen. When we started, we've been working for a long time to give citizens legal and political training so that they could achieve the full measure of their political power and exercise that as problem solvers for the cities. But we didn't have to do anything in Newark other than just provide our tools, because we have an empowerment mayor who has empowerment in his blood and in his father's blood before him, and therefore was already at work building the foundations within the city government. He built the Newark People's Alliance. Where's Andrea Mason?
Right here.
Right there. And he had the brains to pick a dynamic lady like Andrea to start organizing. And the purpose of it, the purpose of it is simply to extend an invitation to the citizens of Newark to become part of the problem-solving process, part of the civic health and future of the city. It's a beautiful thing to be able to work with. And you know, we have so many other aspects, and I'll talk about them in a minute, that have to do with what each of our panelists have done to make Newark a civic city. But let me just digress for 1 minute to set some context here. You know, we talk about, in all of the training, 21st century citizenship. And what we have to, I think, realize is that as we got into the 21st century, things changed. Technology has accelerated the formation of problems at a pace that government officials have not experienced before. Globalization has made them even more complex. So there is more problems coming at government, and there needs to be more problem-solving capacity to respond to it. And if you look at the cities add to those problems of technological acceleration and so on, aging infrastructure, lack of affordable housing, high unemployment, things that make it even more difficult. No matter how honest and how smart the mayor is, the superintendent of schools, all of the leaders in Newark are, it's not fair to assume that they have to solve all the problems. And Newark is a beautiful place because it has that civic tradition of rising and taking care of its own. And this is the beauty of the civic city. You know, problem solving is at the core. So we always ask students when we do the problem solving, whether they be in high school or college or community members, and I'm going to ask you, what are the 2 ingredients that made Martin Luther King so powerful against immense odds in getting things done? Anybody want to take a crack?
I think, well, I would say his knowledge of the federal law and love. I don't know.
Love and the federal law. Anybody else?
Nonviolence. Grassroots organizing.
Grassroots organizing, we're here.
Wisdom and perseverance.
Wisdom and perseverance.
Believe in the power. Wait,
say that again. And you called on some power. I think they heard you. I wasn't sure.
He believed in the internal power of the people. It means people know what they need.
I'm going to stop you here. It was all of those things. But when you look at just pure political power, there were 2 essential ingredients that Dr. King employed. One was a solution, the other was a strategy. Dr. King wasn't just leading a protest, he was leading a protest to get the adoption of the Voting Rights Act and other civil rights laws. And he had a strategy, and his strategy was the policy of nonviolence. And it wasn't just to teach etiquette or something, it was very smart strategy to keep the focus on the solution. And that's where we started in building the foundation of the civic training that's offered in the Civic City. It has to be a solution-oriented, no problem without a solution is our motto. And it has to be no blame, because you start looking backward and pointing fingers, you're never going to make progress. And so that's the basis, basically, of this whole Civic City initiative. We added to it a couple of other things. We added some training in available positions that citizens can take without having to run for office if they really want to be part of the decision-making process of the city. And we train people how to get them and what the legal rights are and political skills are to obtain them. And the last thing is, we put together a 10-step no-blame problem-solving process. That's a practitioner's guide. Former mayors, former school superintendents, school board presidents, etc., who've gotten things done on the city level, putting a guide for how you do practical problem solving. Can't solve all the problems of the world, but you can be practical. All right, so there are, as you heard in the video, there are 4 elements to a civic city. And these will be the model elements as we progress through cities like Philadelphia and beyond. The first is that, and these all, I should say, fall under the title of institutional adjustments, because otherwise talking civic city is nothing but talk. And the institutional adjustments include solution civics being incorporated in the Newark School District. Now that's done. That's not a theory. It's a young man I'll introduce momentarily down there, Bradley Gamaya. Am I getting it right yet, Bradley?
No.
No, not yet. Thanks, Brad. I needed that, right? And he, as a trustee, initiated solution civics before the school board. Several of the other trustees who are sitting here had meetings with the superintendent, brought Leah Owens, the head of curriculum, to the Newark Civic Trust meetings, and they worked together. And now 2,200 books have been delivered to all of the Newark students. There will not be a student graduating from the Newark school system that doesn't have the full measure of their civic power and political power available to them. All right? 27 social studies teachers have been trained in this applied civics, this leadership training, and they are now collaborating and working under the superintendent to be able to share their experiences as they learn how to develop this. Newark Public Schools will truly be a leader in the nation in their civics education. The second institutional change in the civic city is power civics. Right? Power civics is an advanced form of solution civics, and it's taught to all the residents of the city through community forums. There was one held just this past Saturday, and online in 10 free 5-minute videos that you can watch on a smartphone while you're in the dentist's office and become empowered. All right? And that wouldn't have been possible without the Empowerment Chancellor, also known as Nancy Cantor. And Nancy Cantor recruited Dean Minifield, who's here with us, a panelist. And Dean Minifield took over, and there are 2 courses being taught in Rutgers. One is presently being taught, and part of the community service component of the class is that they have to share what they've learned about problem solving of public issues in the city. And they did so. They had 100 people this past Saturday that they shared their knowledge with. The Anchor Institution movement is really moving forward quite forcefully under Dean Minifield. So we have that, and coming in the spring will be a special course, an honors course called Honors Living and Learning Community. If those of you who know about it, there'll be 60 to 70, if I have the number right, people who are residents of Newark or the greater Newark area living on campus and learning how to be the new leaders that we need. So we do have Solution Civics then available to the community and available to the college students and available to the students. In short, every citizen has access to the full measure of their political power. But why have the political power if you can't exercise it? So to exercise it, you need a way to get into public service without having to run for office. Most people don't have the time, the money, and some don't have the hide. I do because of my little brother Steve, he's always on my back. But at any rate, the bottom line is these trustees, they take this pledge. I'm going to read it. I pledge to lead my community, Pencil in Newark, and my country better than I found them, to search for solutions instead of simply pointing out problems, to work on solutions that are doable. We call it doing the doable. that are cost effective, meaning they won't raise the budget, and based on evidence of success. So it's not a fight over my idea versus yours. This is a program that worked in some other city and we're going to bring it to Newark. And to pursue the adoption of solutions with a no-blame approach. Thank you, Dr. King. So that's the third element. The fourth element, it hasn't arrived yet, but we're gonna introduce him when he comes, and that's a mayor who created a welcoming administration. We've had students from American History High that have presented their solutions, and they've been welcomed. The City Council has already welcomed the trustees to work on an economic development app that they developed to help the outward neighborhoods in the city. And so the bottom line is we have really a wonderful thing in this community. It's not just those institutional amendments. It's the spirit, it's the values of Mayor Baraka and Superintendent Leone and Chancellor Nancy Cantor. And most importantly, these civic trustees. Would the civic trustees that are here today just stand up for a minute? These are the people that made the Civic City possible. This is Newark rising and taking responsibility for its own future and expanding its problem-solving capacity and therefore its capacity for greatness. So we're going to introduce the panel, but I just want to tell you one last thing because I got to tell you why we got you here. I want to be straight. We want to inform you about the Civic City and all of its aspects, so if you have any questions, we're leaving a fair amount of time aside for you to ask questions and help us figure out how to even make it better. But because Newark is the first in the nation to put these institutional adjustments in place to make a civic city, we need, for the sake of the nation and for the benefit of Newark, to promote it. And a 3-year promotion campaign is being developed. And the Citizens Campaign will take its share of the work. We're hoping that the Newark Alliance will take its share of the work, that Rutgers and the school district and the mayor's office will all push together one message: Newark leading the nation as the most civically empowered, problem-solving community in the country. If we get that word out, believe me, it'll be beneficial to Newark. Economic development will come when they have that kind of attraction. But at times like these, that Rick made reference to them in our country today, we need to begin to drive our government from the bottom up, and we need civic cities across the nation. That's not going to happen unless a city like Newark challenges them, and it's the perfect city to do so. So thank you for your patience in this. I want to introduce to you now our panel, and as I said before, when the mayor arrives, we'll stop and respect his schedule and allow him to speak. So if I may, I think probably the first one to speak should be Bradley Gomaya. I know I'm switching it up a little. Bradley is a senior in the Newark Public Schools. He's presently organizing district-wide the Newark Student Union, and he is our youngest civic trustee. He actually took the training and joined the Newark Civic Trust and meets monthly with the trustees, and it was in large part due to his energy and his passionate plea to the school board that he and his fellow students be empowered, that we have solution civics in the schools. So Bradley, would you be kind enough to share your thoughts?
Hello, my name is Bradley Gomia, and I am, like he said, a senior at Science Park High School. I'm also part of the Newark Students Union, and I'm also a junior Newark Civic Trustee because I'm not 18 yet. I'd like to specifically talk on why I joined the Newark Civics Trust, and it connects to why I worked in refounding the Newark Students Union as well, which is that we as people, and I'm talking about students, parents, adults, teachers, because those are just those in my immediate surroundings, but we as people have the ability to make change. So I think one thing that we need to do first is reestablish the definition of what politics is. Because politics isn't just the mayor or the superintendent or any elected or appointed officials making change. It's about us as people using our power, using our influence to make a change and to make things better for those around us and for ourselves. Each of us have that power, and that's why I think the civics pledge is in particular very good at hitting that home and making it clear that we do have the power, but what do we do with that power and how do we use that power is also very important. And there are three things or values that are outlined sort of implicitly, both explicitly and implicitly within the civics pledge. And those three things are, first, empowered participation, pragmatism, and solutions. So part of what makes Newark now a civic city is being able to teach students how they can be civically engaged and how they can engage problems and develop solutions. But the Newark Civics Trust and organizations like the Newark Students Union are integral to actually making that happen, to actually allowing students to move past just having a voice, which is something that is said a lot. Students have a voice, but move past having a voice and into actually doing something, into actually showing that you have that power. And through things like the 10-step no-blame problem-solving guideline, we're able to actually pragmatically make changes that we need to see, because we are the ones, each and every one of us are the people that the policies are affecting. So we can't just let these policies affect us. We need to shape those policies so that we can better live, better learn, and better move forward as an individual, as students, as community members, but as people. And that's basically all.
If that doesn't give you hope about Newark's future, there's nothing to do. The next panelist I'd like to introduce to you is Dean Charles Minifield. And I've gotten to know him, I guess, about 6 months or so now. And when Chancellor Cantor said, you got to get together with Dean Minifield, I figured I was going to go through a bureaucratic system and it would probably get done. But I found a person who had empowerment in his heart, who really cared, started coming out to civics meetings that we had, nothing to do with his job. Saturday morning at the Paul Robeson Center, he's there with a Community Power Civics Forum, and we wouldn't be as far ahead as we are without Dean Minifield. So, Dean, please share with us your insights.
Thank you, Harry, for the invitation to participate in this discussion today. As a School of Public Affairs and Administration, we are a school of public service. So obviously, we are charged with educating students. We're educating them for a life of public service in the bureaucracy, in nonprofits, and even in the private sector. So when I met Harry a few months ago, I totally embraced the idea that he had. But I also should give a shout out to my colleague Jill Josepson in the back, who Harry mentioned, in the political science department. She and I are in this together, so to speak. It's very important to me as a professor and also as a dean that we make education important, but we also make community and public engagement a core part of what we do. An educated workforce really is what moves the needle. And that can occur in a variety of ways. And also, as Bradley here has pointed out, when students are involved and they start at a young age, when they come to a university, they're even more prepared to be better students, to be a facilitator when it comes to not just the educational process, but also coming up with solutions to problems that we see on a day-to-day basis. This semester, Renee Data Renee, I saw you earlier. Can you raise your hand? He is one of our professors. He taught a course for us entitled Public Service as Responsible Citizenship. And we use his course as the primary tool to implement Harry's 10-step approach. There's lots of copies. If you can hold up the book, I don't think anyone has yet, Harry. The 21st Century Citizen Manual, The Power of No Blame Problem Solving. So, you know, when I saw the book, when Harry and I were talking, it basically asked myself the question, you know, why is it a good idea to introduce students to this approach? And when the rubber hits the road, you know, we teach students a variety of different theories and methodologies to solving problems, to doing things. Just on the surface, it doesn't make any sense to me to not give them an even more broader perspective. And one that simply makes sense. If you think about it for a second, do you think we have any problems in Newark that haven't occurred somewhere else? Just anything that you can think of. The odds that you're going to give me a problem that has not been introduced somewhere else and a solution has been found is very, very slim. I really like this approach because it basically says, this is an educational process. Go and do the research. Find out the solution based on what's been done in the past. Harry mentioned earlier that I attended a policy solution contest, for lack of a better phrase, this past summer. And basically, Harry and his team basically said, I want you to give me some real significant problems and some solutions, and tell us how you're going to pay for it. And he had a contest, and basically, the best ideas won. And my team, you know, PhD, university professor, I was sitting there thinking, we got this. Like, we're going to leave here winning this contest. And when I heard the very first idea that won, I knew immediately that we didn't stand a chance. To say that it was impressive is an understatement, but what it really brought to my attention is the value of what Harry is doing. Solutions are there. They're not necessarily searching for problems. The problems are clear, but people don't always look for those solutions. So I was very happy when Professor Dede volunteered his class to implement the model. This past Saturday, as Harry mentioned, we had a community forum on Power Civics. The class presented their project and how they implemented Power Civics in the course. It was great, to say the least. You know, we have the title of Newark being, you know, the first civic city. And when you're the first at anything, people are looking to you to figure out how to replace you as number one. So we have an opportunity here to basically write the book for being the #1 civic city. And I would encourage Harry and his team, and I will certainly do my part, to ensure that whatever that strategy is, following Dr. King, whatever the strategy is to maintaining that, but to also improving what we're doing. You know, we're on the cutting edge of innovative activity when it comes to city governance, school district education, and civics. And we can't take that for granted. It's very important that we as a team, we as Newarkers working together, me as a professor at Rutgers University, the anchor institution in the city of Newark, that we play our role to support these sort of activities, and we will certainly exhibit our part. We have the energy, and we will work with Harry very closely as he strategically moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean. It's really a credit to Rutgers that they've decided to really pay it forward and be an anchor institution, and to see it in practice is just as exciting as could be. Listen, we talked earlier today about how the mayors and superintendents of cities like Newark need the help of citizens like yourselves to be able to make the city the best that it could be. And we talked about the institutional adjustments, the people's Newark People's Assembly, the civic trustees, the solution civics in the high schools, the power civics in the colleges and community forums. But as I said before, none of this would really be of significance unless there was heart and values behind it. And I have the honor of introducing Mayor Baraka, whose heart is deeply enriched by the tradition of empowerment in his family, and who's really making this Civic City possible. Mayor Baraka.
Everybody else is sitting, so I apologize for being late. I mean, you guys were here before me. I had to go to a forum about domestic violence, and I needed to go there. It's very personal to me, so I wanted to go there first before I came here. So I want to thank Harry Pazicki for making this happen, Rutgers, and all of the people that are involved in this, all of the folks from the city of Newark who've been involved in this process before it got to the doorstep of City Hall. We've been working on it for about 3 years now. We appreciate your effort and your work. Obviously, we were trying to put together something called People's Assembly, and we still are. We want to do it in conjunction and in a collective spirit with you know, what's happening here in the Civic City piece, and I think is incredibly important that we begin to do that for various reasons. I don't think that, there's a couple of things that I would like to push back on, though. You know, I think there are a lot of problems, and these problems have been occurring all over the country. I don't think people have found solutions to a lot of these problems, which keeps us in circles, yelling and screaming at each other, as opposed to, so for example, if we were in an engineering firm or a place like PSE&G, the problems are very scientific problems, and they're based on material conditions. And so engineers figure out ways to solve problems in a scientific way. The issue is most of the problems that we have in our community are not looked at scientifically. They're looked at as problems that people created by themselves or because of who they are, where they live, their nationality, their race, their income. All of those things are problems that are inherent to them and not inherent to society and to a scientific kind of thing that's wrong with what's going on in society. And so we look at the problem initially in the wrong way because we're looking to blame individuals for problems that a collective community created, right? And that by itself poses a, you know, creates the premise by itself is wrong, and so everything we build after that falls apart from the beginning. And I think that this thing is incredible because most of the time we're blaming each other for problems that existed before we were even born, and they get exacerbated based on the conditions of society. They get exacerbated over and over again depending on what's going on, and we're trying to figure out how to solve these problems. And we haven't even figured out how to talk to each other, never mind solve the problem. And I think this is a beginning of teaching us how to begin to participate in a democracy. Most of us haven't participated in democracy because we've just experienced it recently, some of us, you know, but we're learning how to participate in democracy, and that is that everybody don't have to agree with you. That's number one. And everybody doesn't have to agree with you. And it's kind of narcissistic to believe that because you said something that people should agree with that. No matter what position you're coming from when you say it. Right? Whether you're a community person, a leader, a teacher, an activist, or the mayor of the city, right? So to think that because you said it, that people should agree with it automatically is problematic, right? That you're going to be in a space where people may not agree with you. You have to learn how to deal in that space where people don't agree with you and try to solve these problems sincerely. And I come across people who all the time, and I love this because people always characterize themselves as the community. And I get that because I used to do the same thing. And what's interesting in this position is I find that every meeting I go to, that meeting is the community. And partly it's right and partly it's wrong. Partly while you're dealing with those folks in that particular issue, they are the community. But when you go to other people's neighborhoods, they become the community as well. So trying to figure out how to bring all these folks together and deal with issues that have existed for a long time is a very, huge task. So that's why I thank you for giving us the help that we need. And I just think we've been playing defense for a long time, It's time for us to play some offense. And in order to play offense, you need some offensive plays. You need some strategies. And We like defense so much, we get the ball, we give it back. You know, because we're so used to playing defense, and we don't even understand offense. As a matter of fact, when we get the ball, we start arguing with each other. The ball, the quarterback is arguing with the running back, arguing with the wide receiver, the people who's supposed to block, we arguing with them. We so busy fussing and fighting with each other about how to move forward, we always wind up giving the ball back. So we feel comfortable when we throw a few interceptions, because now we can just attack somebody who's got the ball, as opposed to coming together and really honestly trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And some of it is just like inherent. Like, we just used to playing defense. We don't even feel comfortable with the ball. We're giving it to each other. I don't want it, you know? Because guess what? If you have the ball, you become responsible for scoring. And if you don't score, people blame you. Look at Pittsburgh. They went. I mean, I was arguing about the quarterback. That's my team. That's my team. I'm trying to get rid of Roethlisberger today, but last week, you know, I was Roethlisberger the man. But once you get the ball in your hand, you're responsible for scoring touchdowns. That's why everybody wants the ball. They think they want the ball until it's passed to them. Right. Then they figure out, why did I ask for this ball? Right. Let's give them the ball. I want to play defense. And so this is an opportunity for all of us, the school system, the higher education community, the city of Newark, the residents, to come together and develop some offensive strategy. Some real offensive strategy that will help us not only work together, but get the ball downfield. And we've been trying to get the ball downfield a long time, right? And I've realized that just because we came up with an idea, that most of the time the ideas we came up with are not new. I'm on panels with young people all the time who have discovered the best idea they've ever discovered. They fight, we need to do this, we need to do this. They don't know 20 years ago that people were fighting for that very same thing. We just couldn't advance the ball. So I'm here. Whatever it is that we can do at the city, we're going to obviously do. I appreciate you, bringing us around on this issue. We believe that we're going to do some great things with this and the People's Assembly, but deeper than that, the fact that Rutgers has the class and Newark Public Schools has that, we'll be able to get a more prepared student and a person, a citizen that's not only interested in playing defense, but is begging for the ball. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I got to say, you are an inspiration, and I think the city is rising because of that inspiration. Newark's lucky to have a quarterback like Mayor Rasmussen. Yes. All right, so we told you about a civic city and what it is. Now we got to ask you to help us make this civic city rise in Newark and challenge the nation, all right? And our next panelist, Aisha Glover, probably goes without introduction. Everybody knows Aisha. My brother said he met one of the smartest minds in economic development when he met Aisha Glover. And she's now heading up the Newark Alliance, and I think she has a lot of power to bring to Newark. You know, we were talking, Steve said to me, my brother Steve that is, said to me, you know, we got to promote what all you're telling me about all these people in Newark and how they're all really interested in empowering and taking responsibility for their own city. You got to, from a business point of view, marketing the city, that's something we can promote. So to tell you a little bit more about that and to discuss how you might be a part of the marketing of Newark, the civic city, to the nation, Aisha Glover.
I do feel some type of way going after the mayor.
Everybody.
Thank you. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the Citizens Campaign for this event, for tapping the Alliance to help to present it. I commend the partnerships, the range of voices that you have kind of brought together in this space. And I love to identify the underlying opportunities. So in moments like this, I want to just explicitly state just that we do have a tremendous opportunity here. Everybody knows there's a lot of momentum in the city. We're poised to make civic engagement one of our greatest assets. So we have all the ingredients which we know, including the mayor's leadership, this bottom-up approach from schools, universities, and a citizenry that is already engaged and blossoming into really a growing base of civic-minded community members, both young and old. I met with Harry a couple of months ago, and I was explaining my move to the Newark Alliance and kind of the bigger vision of the Alliance and the Newark CDC working in partnership with the Mayor's Office and the Department of Economic and Housing Development. And I think I used the phrase of creating this kind of economic development or economic impact trifecta. And Harry kind of looked at me and he said, yeah, but what about the people? And he checked me, partly because I figured, I didn't have much background, but I figured he was cut from the same cloth as his brother. So I was trying to make the development pitch. And I didn't know my audience. And the truth is, that comes without saying. In our work in economic development, under the mayor's leadership and with his direction, that is ingrained and part of what we do and critical to economic development. It's not separate and apart. It's not a checkbox. So it was a reminder to me that a civically engaged public is directly tied to economic development. And I'll say that again. A civically engaged public is directly tied to economic development. It is not separate and apart. It's critical for addressing unemployment. It's critical to help drive placemaking, to build trust. One of the largest initiatives underway, Newark's Hire by Live initiative, the mayor's Hire by Live initiative, is just one strategy that kind of underscores what the civic engagement and community engagement impact can and should be. It's not separate and apart from the business community. And we are at a moment right now where I feel like we can strongly embrace kind of this, or claim the fact that we're the country's first civic city. We can and should be thinking about what makes the city unique. And we cannot go by the wayside, and I always end up sounding so dismissive when I say this, so forgive me ahead of time, but we cannot go the same way of the Brooklyns and the Harlems of the world. We have to be very intentional. Intentional and purposeful, because we're at this moment of growth and development, right? We're almost catching up a little bit, but at the same time, as we're running and catching up, we're putting systems in place to ensure equity, and civic engagement is critical to that. This can't be a single voice, it can't be corporations, it can't be just businesses, just developers. We have to have a civically engaged public that's informing what the placemaking strategies look like, where we're focusing our attention, what the commercial corridors look like, where we're channeling investments, where the philanthropic community comes together. It has to be informed so that way it's impactful, right? And nothing is truly done in a bubble. So I do feel like we're at this moment now where we can kind of flex our PR muscle, send a powerful message, not just for attraction, right? This is not just a kind of marketing and branding exercise. So as much as this will help kind of make sure that we're attracting the right types of businesses, look, so I'll give you a great example. I stood in this room probably in February or March, and we held 2 community meetings. One was here and one was at the Newark Public Library. And the one that we held here was in preparation for the proposal that we submitted to Amazon. And we convened the small business and entrepreneur community to say, what should we put in our proposal, right? So to the mayor's point, it's not just enough to complain or be against something. What are your solutions? Because we wanted to put that right in the proposal to Amazon and say, here's how you can engage the business community. Here's how you can ensure that you're not having a negative impact on the small and locally owned businesses. So we did the same thing on the residential side at the Newark Public Library. And the thinking is, for every major initiative, for every project, for every bid, for every corporate attraction, how do we build that in right up front so people know what our expectations are and they can rise to the occasion? So I'm really excited about this designation, kind of another feather in our cap to really emphasize and leverage this opportunity that we're in right now for all this momentum. we need you. We need you to help kind of spread that word. We need everybody to kind of be on the same message on what our greatest assets are, and this is definitely one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Who ever heard of value-driven economic development? I don't know, where'd that come from? You know, it's a beautiful thing, and it's part of the challenge to the rest of the country. We've got a little time to answer any questions that you might have of the panelists or myself about the Civic City, or to hear any ideas for how you might engage in the marketing of Newark, the Civic City, and its civic vitality for the economic development benefits it would bring. Anybody have any questions or comments? Yes.
I had a question for, I guess anybody can answer it, but I wanted to ask how many neighborhoods does Newark have, and how do we transition it from the 5 wards to the 20-something neighborhoods? And the empowering of the neighborhoods piece, like how can somebody get involved in that particular aspect?
You seem like you know the answer already.
No, I know it's between 21 and 24, yeah. But I couldn't tell you where every one of them
21.
is, because I go with the 5 wards aspect.
21 neighborhoods that you know was done long before I was thought of. That was created. The neighborhood, you know, I think they had area boards then. You know, I wasn't around at that time, but we learned about this stuff. But that's what the People's Assembly idea is about, trying to empower neighborhoods as opposed to wards. And what we found out is that people begin to treat wards in a monolithic kind of way, and they characterize wards. So I hear people when they come to the South, they say, they go to certain parts of the South Ward, they're like, oh, is this the South Ward? Or something like that, or from elected officials, by the way. Or different parts, so they don't know even when I was at one meeting and one person was saying how they lived in the West Ward and the West Ward was this kind of way, and I was explaining to them that there are a bunch of neighborhoods in the West Ward, and you can't really characterize the West Ward in 1 or 2 sentences, right? There are many different neighborhoods, many different people, a lot of different nationalities that live in these wards that you would not know about because you just think, you know, we have these kind of wards that were drawn out, those for political reasons. The police department don't even follow the wards, right? So that's what the People's Assembly is about, and I'm sure, you know, what Harry's been organizing and you guys have been trying to put together, you know, your communities in those in that way as well. So we're going to continue along that model. And if you know, any one of us, I mean, there's a whole bunch of folks that have been involved in this for a long time. At this table over here, I recognize some of them. Been involved in this work over here. Some of them live in the parts of the West Ward. And Andrea, sitting next to you, is running our Newark People's Assembly stuff.
So you know the relationship. Think of the People's Assembly as the front door to civic empowerment, and it will rise from there. You had a question? Yes.
Well, not so much a question, but my name is Suzanne Jablonski. I'm a Newark resident here, and I'm also the founder and the creator of Newark Centric City, which promotes all the great things in Newark and the people making them happen. And my primary focus of that is to get you in the people directory so people know who's who and doing what in Newark, because there's great things happening here, as well as an events calendar that's published daily. And we're going to be soon launching a radio show that's going to delve deeper. But the great thing about the radio show is that we're going into the neighborhoods of Newark and promoting what's happening in the neighborhoods.
Bottom line is you get nowhere without promotion.
And she's 100% committed.
So
I have cards.
Just again, to make you think about this, if everybody sitting here figures out how, in their own individual capacity and in the groups or associations that they're part of, how they can promote Newark as the first civic city in the nation and get that pride broadcast so that people will want to come here to participate in the greatness of Newark that's rising under Mayor Baraka. So I think we got something to look forward to. Oh, this is Jessica King. What's your married name now, Jessica?
Williams.
Jessica Williams. Jessica was the first teacher to pilot Solution Civics a couple of years ago, American History High.
Oh, I gotta stand up. Hey everybody, how we doing? So now I'm a vice principal at George Washington Carver in Southport, and we're really trying to kind of engage students even at that grade level. So I've been trying some initiatives there too. But my big question is, we have greatness here. You know what I mean? We have a product that pretty much sells itself, except it doesn't in terms of, like you said, we have 21st century learners, and we have a lot of disenfranchised populations who are not responsive to our, we have a lot of great things that they don't know about. So what are the efforts that the city of Newark is taking, as well as just the Alliance itself, in order to make these programs more enticing to the younger generation so it can reach the people that truly are needed to see to make these differences? That's my question.
I wish Shakira was here today. We should have invited her. Shakira McKnight in the Office of Youth and College Students. We have an office in City Hall. When people leave City Hall, they coming in. And it's a packed house down there. She organized everything from tours to leadership classes to leadership overnight camps to opportunities for kids to go away out of the country. She's doing a lot of, and trying to advertise the things that are happening in the city at the same time. It's probably an army of 20 of them at this point, and it's growing. I would advise folks to try to plug them in, and they continue to get out there and they use every resource that we have. We give it to them because we understand that they know how to communicate with their peers better than we can. So we don't tell them what to do. We just basically engage them and give them what they need so they can operate. But Shakira is a dynamo, excellent, graduated from Central High School, but also she's serious. So I would connect them to that, and it's always open. Office is always open in the basement floor of City Hall.
And I just add to that because Superintendent Leone had an emergency and couldn't make it today. He was scheduled to be a panelist. That he's going to do his part, as he's already inaugurated a civic day in the school system. We participate with that, and he's really got ideas to just let Solution Civics be the jumping off point. But there were other questions or comments.
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to ask a little bit about the blame approach, because that's something that I think
No blame
approach. Because that's something I need a little development with.
We all do. I got a few people I want to blame.
But I think what makes it difficult is when the governments are intentionally and purposefully disenfranchising you. Like, for example, 2015, we just had the federal laws for education reauthorized, and now it requires that cities, especially in urban areas, engage the communities. We have cities that are falsifying documents saying that parents were involved and they weren't. And they intentionally blocked parents.
You've heard the expression that power is not given, it's taken. So don't be worried about disenfranchisement. You have the power available right at your fingertips now, so
yeah, but
all take it.
I'm also in trouble now because you know what I'm saying, I'm suspended.
Oh, you got to learn the no blame approach to keep you out of trouble.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so I need help with that.
Joe, did you have something back there? And we will help. I thank you for that comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to say quickly that Harry, timing is everything, and there's probably no greater time for the Citizens Campaign to be entering into Newark. I think in my 27.5 years as director of an organization that has been very, very engaged civically for the longest time, that this is probably the most opportune time that we have had for meaningful and accessible engagement that can really make a difference and bring people together and resolve differences between City Hall, community, etc. It's never easy, it's never simple, but it's more possible now than ever before, and we want to appreciate that and acknowledge that.
Well, you know, the nonprofit spine of Newark was at the foundation of everything that we're talking about here today. Joe, Ray Cassio, Celia King, Vivian, all helped recruit initial trustees to the Civic Trust, and the Civic Trust has been the major juggernaut behind the Civic City. So that's what I said before. This isn't about the Citizens Campaign. We've done some tool development and so on. This is about citizens and leaders who care about the city. I'm honored to be here in their presence. I'm inspired. Every time I go to a Newark Civic Trust meeting, my brother says to me, yeah, you're kidding me. 24 people meeting once a month, they're not getting paid, and they're researching and working on stuff. I gotta see this. It's there, and if you come, you'll be inspired as well.
This question is for the gentleman at the end, the student. My name is Kosi Remy. I'm a Southport resident and executive with Fidelity. I want to know, how do we encourage students like you to become leaders like you are today? What can we do as a corporation to encourage people to follow in your footsteps long after you're gone, and what are they interested in? I want to have that conversation with you.
So, all right. So, I don't think it's that difficult. But could I? What's the what are you? What corporation are you with?
Fidelity.
Fidelity. What is that?
It's a bank.
It's a bank. Okay. My bad.
Brother, just tell them, show me the money.
I don't necessarily work with banks and stuff. I don't even have like a credit card and debit card or anything right now. But in terms of empowering students and getting them to be quote unquote leaders, I think it's about showing them that they have power to actually do something, to actually have an influence. So a lot of times, and I think it's great how it's being done right now, how people are trying to empower students right now by telling them that they have some type of voice, but I think it's actually giving them the opportunity to exercise some sort of discretion or make actual decisions to go beyond their voice. Like what I was mentioning before, giving them the opportunity, but first listening to them, because the voice thing is important. But going beyond that, going beyond just listening to them, but actually allowing them to work to solve the problems that they have faced or offer solutions to the problems that they have faced. And that comes in many different forms. And one of the things that the Newark Students Union does in particular is teach students, or teach each other, because it's an entirely student-run and led organization. We work with each other and work on actually finding solutions and working towards those solutions to the problems that we face on a day-to-day basis. So you just have to find something that connects to the student and show them how they can work to get that done. And I think the whole leadership thing follows after that. And once they know that they can do something, once they start working towards doing that, then they'll naturally be what we call leaders, because they're the most knowledgeable on it and they're the ones that are actually working to solve something.
Thank you, Bradley. That was beautiful. All right, now, we've got to figure a way to wrap this up, but we'll wrap it up hopefully with some ideas for how we can put together promotional powers, whether it's in the development or broker community or the Newark Alliance or others, to combine their promotional strength with the strength of the city and the school district and Rutgers, so that we all pull with one effort to promote Newark as a civic city. Steve, you have any ideas how brokers might be able to promote the city of Newark as the first in the nation? See, I get a chance to get back at him now.
You know, I think it's the community that has to come together beyond just brokers, and I think we're seeing that. I think that's part of the success that Newark is seeing right now.
That's a good one. That's a good one, Steve. And I didn't even set you up for that. Anyone else?
You've been setting me up my whole life.
Yeah.
So certainly, corporations like ours are open to being supportive of it. You know, we're hoping that you would adopt a no-blame approach to utility work in the city going forward.
Working on it. God's still working on it.
I second that.
Certainly, you can count on public service to continue to be supportive and hopefully help you bring it together in the city of Norfolk.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, the corporate community has been strong here, and you know, Rick has certainly given a lot of help. I got to acknowledge Sam Delgado, my good friend too, because without him, we still wouldn't be standing here. You got to do some of the rough stuff. Yes.
I have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay, I have a question. When will you start connecting with other cities around nearby?
Oh, that's a good question. Everybody here, when is this movement going to start connecting with other cities? You should know that there's a civic city about to emerge in the city of Trenton. There's a civic trust there, Solution Civics in the high school, Thomas Edison University teaching. Mayor's new there, so he's starting to try and get caught up with Mayor Baraka, but certainly, no, seriously, Newark is already influencing Trenton. I've brought the brochures about what Newark's doing down to Trenton. It's also happening, the governor called for the establishment of a civic trust in Atlantic City in his special report just issued. And Philadelphia will have its first civic trust organizing meeting this Thursday night. And then there are plans beyond that for Yonkers, Miami, Toledo, Ohio, and Oakland, California. I was talking to the people who are organizing Oakland this weekend. So,
okay, so will there be a sign? I'm like from Passaic County. I'm from Passaic County, from Patterson, New Jersey.
Okay.
So not to say that we're compared, but I believe that Newark and Patterson have a lot of same issues, and that's why I'm asking, because you know we're that type of population where we blame everybody and there's no solution. So that's why I'm urgently asking, where can I get one?
No. You know, look, we're putting together the kind of tools online and with support from people like Joelle Rosa, who's here, to help you build the civic city in your own community. We actually started the Patterson Press, and your mayor actually came up through our training in Patterson, so it should be an easy task if you're willing to put
fingers.
Your shoulders to it, right? So what other name over there, Rich?
Hey, Harry, good afternoon, everybody. As many people, moving forward, one of the things I would suggest, as many people probably know, Newark has a rich history of community development corporations, community organizations that have been around 40+ years, organizing, engaging the community, advocating, and we have a network that's also been around 30 years, the Newark Community Development Network, and I'd be happy to work with the civic trustees to spread the word, come to one of our meetings, we meet every month. The other thing I would say to the young lady about the no blame approach, Harry and I debated this like 15 years ago. Because when I heard him first say it, I'm like, well, wait a minute. If we have a problem, somebody or some system is responsible for it. So there is a difference between no blame and no accountability. So I think one of the core principles of organizing and advocacy development, and we worked long and hard, with the mayor on the recent inclusionary zoning. And Harry, by the way, values-laden economics is not new in Newark. Not within the last 5 years, at least, with this mayor. We have an Equitable Development Advisory Commission. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So one of the core principles of any organizing is research. It's really evidence-based, hard-headed research. Then you find out who's responsible, what systems are responsible, and then you have to, that's how you craft a solution to know who the responsible things are. So, yeah, it's not no blame, but it's also not no accountability either. So I would just
Thank you.
help you.
All right, we'll take one more because we can't hold up everybody. I know you got to go back to work.
No problem.
Thank you, Rich.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chanel McLeod. I'm a Newark resident here and a homeowner. I have a problem, and I figured since I'm here, I might as well maybe get some solutions.
No, wait. The motto of the Civic City is no problem without a solution. Means you have to bring a solution.
I have one solution, and then maybe people can help me develop solutions around this one. So there's a street, Aldine Street, which is across the street from a school, George Washington Carver. It is probably a high George Washington Carver over there. It is incredibly dangerous, and there are several of the homes that are actually for sale and on auction right now, $79,000, $245,000, et cetera, et cetera. I know that if I could support or get support from a group and potentially leverage the Citizens Campaign, that we could come together, buy these properties, revitalize the properties, offer them as affordable housing with the potential for parents and families who go to the school to be the people who get first bid on the property. So I have a solution. I've identified the properties. However, I have absolutely no idea what my next step is in order to get this going.
Okay.
Can you all help?
I can just give you two quick answers. Any panelist wants to join in, please do. One is the Newark Civic Trust is already working on economic development programs for economically challenged neighborhoods. Bill Bishop put together an app where people can actually do a reporting of any kind of issues on a regular basis and work hand in glove with the city to make that neighborhood ready for marketing. The other thing I'd suggest to you is what we teach in the no blame approach. Go and take your idea and then go online, Google it, abandoned properties / urban, and things of that sort, and see what's happening in other cities. I don't know who said it here before, but we don't have to be geniuses. We just have to go out there, find out the best thing that's working and has evidence of success in addressing neighborhoods like yours, and then import it to Newark. And if we import every good idea in the country, Newark's going to be the best in the country.
So can I respond to that? So I think that what she did was excellent, right? So, and I think Aisha's got a card out to give to you, but we can help with that, to get that. But the one thing I would say about what Harry said is, like, I had a meeting this morning with some young people from Rutgers around how to create revenue for the city, and they went out and found all of these things that are happening all over the country. The problem is they never came to talk to us, right? So they didn't talk to us first, and so we could have told them a lot of stuff that was already happening, or the context of how to look at these things. So they told us that we needed a payroll tax. And I had to tell them we already told them we already have a payroll tax. And they said, well, what about taxing the tickets from Prudential? I said, well, we already do that too. They would be upset if we raised it. They said, what about a parking tax? We got that covered as well. But so the reality is we appreciate it, but what people don't do is they have to first figure out what's already going on in the city, right? And how do we connect to what's happening already? Because we have this assumption in our head that, you know, things are just not happening in Newark. That's just not true, right? So you have to figure, there's some very smart people working. So you have to figure out how to plug yourself into those things. And there may be gaps. So everything we're doing is not perfect, and we didn't have all the answers. So there may be gaps, potentially maybe a lot of gaps. So, but it's easier for you to find the gaps if you figure out what we're doing and then compare it to what other people are doing as well. Then you do some kind of analysis on both of those things, and you can help us. You know, because sometimes we don't have the time to do all the things that you may have the ability and the time to do, right? And that would be helpful to us. First time I've been to a meeting, somebody said, let's figure out how to buy the houses, not knock them down.
Right.
So that's a novel approach, and I would, you know, support that 1,000% if you had folks that would be able to come and make that happen. The city will definitely, absolutely support that idea.
Thank you, Mayor. Back in the interest of time and the fact that I told my brother he could get out of here by 1:30, we're going to wrap it up right now. I want to thank the mayor especially for the points that he's making. What he did with the the Newark People's Assembly and opening the door for someone who has a solution like your own to find out what is happening in the city and then work together with them is beautiful. And the 10-step process, the first step is, once you drill down on the issue, is to do a government record request or call officials in the city to find out about the current programs. It's a real process, and the mayor just exemplified it as an expert practitioner in city government. So you can use this process, and we can all work and help the mayor and give the lift that he needs to handle the problems that are coming at him every day. I thank you all so much for coming. Keep your ideas coming about how we can promote Newark, how we can recruit more trustees, and how we can support the mayor and the superintendent in making Newark the best that it can be.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Willie Tolbert. I happen to be a Newark Civic trustee, as well as a pastor in the city and an entrepreneur. And what I enjoyed about this session was that there was a collective gathering of great minds and great organizations that are coming together for one initiative to make certain that our city continues to move forward, but we realize that what happens in our neighborhood can impact other neighborhoods. So we're grateful for, again, Harry Pazinski and the entire team and the leadership and the mayor for this initiative, and we look forward to seeing what it's going to do in the future.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sabrina Ross. I am the Community Outreach Manager for UVSO, Unified Vailsburg Services Organization. And one of my jobs that I'm responsible for is providing technical assistance to the Heart of Vailsburg Block Club Coalition, which is comprised of a group of residents who are engaged civically to improve the quality of life for the residents as well as the students, anyone that wants to move into the Vailsburg neighborhood. And I think with Newark being considered the first civic city is a great opportunity to, one, empower residents to continue to move forward and understand that there is a process when you're looking for solutions and being able to express, express that you can, move forward with step by step, and just being able to not blame anyone or have a, I guess, negative outlook, but just staying optimistic and staying positive when trying to be the change that you want to see. And so I look forward to engaging more with the city of Newark, Mayor Baraka and his administration, with other community-based organizations, as well as other residents groups, to move Newark forward and to improve the quality of life for all people, no matter what race, class, or the amount of money that they make. So, all right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dorian Johnson. I'm president of the Fairmount Heights Neighborhood Association, and I'm also a civic trustee. And it's a wonderful day today as everybody comes together and discussing these situations that we're empowering our communities with the Civic Trust. And I'm so happy to be here. People come out with the community and learning different things about the Civic Trust, what it's all about, and in our youth. Our youth spoke today. It was very gratifying. And we're looking forward to the future, and we're welcoming people to come join the Civic Trust. And we appreciate what went on today. What the mayor spoke about, this is the first here in our city, and we greatly, greatly appreciate it. So we look forward to the opportunities that will move on into other cities, as well as right here in Newark. And we thank you so much for that.